He was tall, rugged, and carried a Winchester rifle like it was an extension of his arm. For many, Chuck Connors will always be remembered as Lucas McCain, the fast-shooting, justice-seeking hero of the classic Western television series, The Rifleman. But behind that iconic character was a man with a fascinating life, one filled with unexpected twists, personal struggles, and secrets that only now are beginning to come to light. Chuck Connors was more than just an actor. He was a professional athlete, a principled performer, a private man with strong convictions, and someone whose legacy stretches far beyond the dusty towns of the Old West he portrayed on screen. Before Hollywood came calling, Chuck Connors lived a life that could have been a movie on its own. Born Kevin Joseph Alesius Connors on April 10, 1921, in Brooklyn, New York, he grew up in a working-class Irish-American family during the Great Depression. His parents, immigrants from Newfoundland, raised him with strong Catholic values and a fierce work ethic. From a young age, it was clear that Connors had an imposing presence. He shot up to 6 feet 5 inches tall and developed a passion for sports that would soon become a defining part of his early life. Baseball was Chuck's first love, and his talent didn't go unnoticed. After high school, he earned a scholarship to Adelphi University, where he became a standout athlete in both basketball and baseball. But the world was at war, and like many young men of his generation, Connors put his dreams on hold to serve his country. During World War II, he joined the Army and was stationed stateside, where he helped train soldiers. Even in uniform, his athletic prowess continued to shine. It wasn't long before professional sports teams began taking notice. After the war, Connors pursued a career in professional sports with remarkable success. He played for the Boston Celtics in the inaugural years of the Basketball Association of America, which would later become the NBA. Then he switched gears and joined Major League Baseball, playing first base for the Brooklyn Dodgers and later the Chicago Cubs. While his time in the major leagues was brief, his presence was memorable. Connors became one of the few men in history to play both professional basketball and baseball, an extraordinary achievement that hints at just how driven and multi-talented he really was. But sports, as much as he loved them, weren't where his heart would ultimately lead him. A chance moment changed everything. While playing baseball in California, he was spotted by a casting director who was captivated by his size, charisma, and unique look. That encounter opened the door to the entertainment industry, and before long, Connors was landing small roles in films and television shows. His breakout came in 1958, when he was cast as Lucas McCain in The Rifleman. The show would go on to become one of the most beloved Western series of all time, running for 5 seasons and over 160 episodes. What made The Rifleman stand out wasn't just the action or the setting. It was the emotional depth brought to the character of Lucas McCain. As a widowed father raising his son in the rugged frontier, McCain was a rare kind of television hero, strong but sensitive, firm but fair. And much of that authenticity came from Connors himself. He brought a sense of moral integrity to the role that resonated with audiences. In many ways, Lucas McCain was a reflection of the man who played him, principled, protective, and quietly powerful. But while Connors was becoming a household name on screen, his private life remained largely out of the spotlight. He was known to be intensely private, rarely giving interviews or discussing his personal affairs. Behind closed doors, however, there were stories that few knew, relationships, struggles, and a personality shaped by much more than what fans saw on television. He was married 3 times, and while his public persona was clean-cut and stoic, those close to him describe a complex man who wrestled with fame, personal demons, and the burden of always being seen as a hero. One of the lesser-known aspects of Connors' life was his deep involvement in politics and global affairs. During the Cold War, He was part of a small group of American celebrities invited to the Soviet Union, where he famously struck up a friendship with Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev. In a world where tensions between the U.S. and USSR were at a boiling point, this unlikely bond drew widespread attention. Connors, ever the diplomat, used his status as a beloved entertainer to build bridges in places few Americans could. It's said that Brezhnev, a fan of the Rifleman, admired Connors' portrayal of justice and strength and requested to meet him personally. That meeting, strange as it may sound, symbolized the power of entertainment as a force of cultural diplomacy. Even in his later years, Connors never stopped working. He continued acting in television and film, often returning to his roots in westerns. Yet he remained somewhat elusive, never seeking the spotlight, and often turning down roles that didn't align with his values. He was selective about his work and committed to portraying characters that reflected a certain moral clarity. Off-screen, he was known for his generosity and loyalty. Friends described him as a man who remembered his roots, supported his community, and remained humble despite his fame. One surprising chapter in Connors' life that many fans never knew about was his devout Catholic faith. While he didn't often speak publicly about religion, those who knew him say that his beliefs guided many of his decisions, both professionally and personally. He was involved in numerous charities, often helping causes quietly without seeking recognition. Connors believed in giving back and lived by a strong code of ethics that echoed the same values he brought to his role as Lucas McCain. But even the strongest figures have their vulnerabilities. In his later years, Connors faced health challenges, including a long battle with lung cancer, a result of years of smoking, a habit he had picked up in his early days like many actors of his time. He fought the disease with the same quiet determination he brought to every challenge in life. When he passed away in 1992 at the age of 71, tributes poured in from around the world. Fans, fellow actors, athletes, and even politicians remembered him not just as the Rifleman, but as a man who lived with conviction and authenticity. His funeral was a quiet affair, attended by family, close friends, and a few dignitaries, including some from Russia. Even in death, the connections he made across cultures and ideologies endured. It was a fitting tribute for a man who, despite being a symbol of American frontier justice, had touched lives far beyond Hollywood's borders. In many ways, Chuck Connors lived several lives: athlete, actor, father, cultural ambassador, and he did so with a rare sense of integrity. What's perhaps most compelling about Connors' legacy is how timeless it feels. In an age of rapid fame and fleeting stardom, his story stands out as a reminder of what true character looks like, on and off the screen. The secrets that are now emerging about his life only serve to deepen the admiration people feel for him. They paint a fuller picture of a man who defied easy labels, who walked his own path, and who, even decades later, continues to inspire. Even today, long after his final appearance on screen, Chuck Connors remains a towering figure in American television history. Reruns of The Rifleman still air, attracting new generations of viewers who are drawn to the show's blend of action, heart, and moral clarity. Unlike many of the characters from old westerns who faded into obscurity, Lucas McCain, and by extension Connors himself, never quite left the public consciousness. That enduring popularity speaks to something deeper than nostalgia. It reflects the values that Connors embodied throughout his life: strength without cruelty, power tempered by compassion, and a deep respect for justice and family. Behind that stoic, steely-eyed glare and the iconic twirl of his modified Winchester rifle was a man who understood responsibility. Chuck Connors didn't just play a hero, he lived like one. Whether it was showing up for charity events, mentoring younger actors, or maintaining relationships across political and cultural lines, he acted with a quiet nobility that mirrored his on-screen persona. It wasn't for show. He didn't need the cameras rolling to be someone worth admiring. In fact, some of the most touching stories about Connors never made it into newspapers or interviews. There are accounts of him visiting sick children in hospitals, not for publicity, but simply because it was the right thing to do. He would often attend local events in small towns, surprising fans with his warmth and humility. He made time for people, even when he didn't have to. That, perhaps more than any role he played, is why so many continue to speak of him with deep affection. There was a rare authenticity about Chuck Connors. In a world where many wear masks for the sake of fame, he remained grounded. He never forgot where he came from, never let celebrity warp his sense of purpose. He treated people with respect, valued honesty, and stayed true to himself. Those who worked with him often recalled how easy he was to be around, professional, kind, and genuine. And while his physical stature may have been intimidating, his presence put people at ease. He had a gift for connecting with others, whether on the field, the set, or in everyday life. As the years go by and Hollywood continues to evolve, actors like Chuck Connors become rarer. The type who blend talent with humility, fame with dignity, and strength with integrity. His story is more than just a tribute to a beloved actor. It's a glimpse into a kind of man who is all too uncommon, one who lived a full life, made a real impact, and left behind a legacy not just measured in awards or box office numbers, but in character, relationships, and how he made others feel. Some of the more recent revelations about his life have added new depth to the public's understanding of who Chuck Connors truly was. Private letters, recollections from friends, and unearthed interviews have painted a more complex and compelling portrait. They show a man who was not without flaws, but who faced his struggles with quiet strength. A man who knew loss, of loved ones, of opportunities, but who never let those hardships define him. He overcame challenges not by making noise, but by moving forward, day by day, with resilience and grace. In an era where public figures are often surrounded by scandal, the stories that have emerged about Connors are refreshingly different. There are no sordid secrets, no dramatic downfalls. Instead, what comes to light is a man who lived with intention and heart. His so-called secrets are mostly stories of generosity, of unpublicized good deeds, of friendships that spanned ideologies and continents. They are reminders that sometimes the best secrets are the ones that quietly speak of goodness and grace. It's also worth noting how Connors used his platform. While many celebrities shy away from controversy or keep their opinions to themselves, Connors wasn't afraid to speak out when he believed it mattered. He supported veterans, advocated for causes close to his heart, and even took stands in his work. He turned down roles that didn't align with his moral compass, refusing to compromise for the sake of fame or money. In that sense, he wasn't just an actor. He was a man of principle, unafraid to draw lines where he felt they were needed. Chuck Connors' life story reads like a tapestry woven with discipline, talent, and compassion. From the streets of Brooklyn to the baseball diamonds of the major leagues, from the Celtics' hardwood court to the sound stages of Hollywood, his journey is nothing short of extraordinary. And while the world knew him best as the Rifleman, those who knew the man behind the rifle speak of someone even more remarkable. He was the kind of person who made a lasting impression, not just because he was famous, but because he was real. And in today's world, that's a legacy worth remembering. His life reminds us that true greatness isn't about perfection or celebrity. It's about how we treat people, how we carry ourselves, and the quiet, enduring ways we shape the world around us. Chuck Connors may be gone, but his influence lives on, not just through old reruns or memorabilia, but in the values he stood for and the example he left behind. He reminds us that sometimes the greatest heroes aren't the ones who shout the loudest or make the biggest splash. They're the ones who show up, do the right thing, and live with honor. So when we look back at the Rifleman and the man who made it unforgettable, we see more than just a TV legend. We see a father, a fighter, a friend, and a figure of quiet strength. And now, as more stories come to light, the world finally gets to know the full measure of the man who was, and always will be, Chuck Connors.